I'm Ryan Brown, or Ricey Brown. I practice under that name. I'm a printmaker, originally from the UK, moved to Berlin a few years ago. And I specialise, I guess, in making sort of prints that kind of combine different printing styles and techniques. Yeah, I focus on screen printing, which I combine often with Japanese style of printing called sumonagashi, which is like marbled paper. So I only make sort of prints with varied editions, so they're often sort of one-offs. I mean, my designs, my background's through illustration. Always drew. And then I studied in London with pretensions of being a music video director some years ago. And through that, I got into photography. And once I finished up there, I just fell back into my first love, which was always, drawing, making images that way. Now, though, I find myself moving more into sort of graphic art. I'm interested in words, typography, language, basically. The combinations of things, like counterpoints between, like the subjectivity of colour, how different people perceive colours different ways, and how that can work as a nice metaphor for how we see the world in different ways. Combined then with words, with the work I'm doing currently, some of it is with this Japanese marbling. The ink goes onto water, and it's kind of like a very pared down photographic process. So each time you add paper to this combination, you end up with like a fingerprint of that moment. So I like sort of combining this with kind of a more industrialized, repetitive process through the screen printing. And I like to reflect in that as well, the combination between something that seems more natural and by chance, and language, which is, very rule orientated and can be very narrowing in how we sort of perceive things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I specialize in paper print, working on paper. What interests me about screen printing is the layers, and looking with that sort of metaphor for the layers of kind of day-to-day reality and identity and all of the things that, we see so much disjunct with today. And it has that ability to expand your perception of these things because so much activity happens in between each layer. So much work is done. It's a very meditative thing. So I like to do that, and I like to incorporate all aspects. So it's not just stuff on paper, it's the framing and the glass and the idea of screens and the idea of, the frames through which we kind of view things. Everyone's trying to make a buck, it's pretty harsh times. So I'm excited about actually what I'm producing at the moment and getting that out there for people. And it's, available. I lived in London for about 13 years, like much of my adult life, and as much as I loved it, it felt as if the whole city basically got sold out from under, the communities, the artists, a lot of development, a lot of gentrification, and it just became unfeasible, really, to sort of achieve my vision, what I wanted to do. With those constraints and that pressure. So, moving to Berlin, what attracted me was that, there's still a lot of liminal space. There's an openness in through the kind of social structure, you do have a mix still, which is often not so possible in London. It's kind of ever increasingly kind of like a gated community. And through that, there's like a vibrancy. And, this place is like the STATTLAB is a great example of that because everything's got a price tag in, it seems, in the UK. Everything will be monetized. Here, there is that option. And what it does is allow spaces like this to exist and for people to come together. And as an artist, like to have that, obviously, is, like I say, one thing, means of production, but it's also community. And being an artist can be a very isolating thing. And you need to kind of keep plugged in to the world that's around you and just basically practice like being a person. I mean, the situation being as it is, I think obviously we're all looking at new ways of surviving, getting by. And it is with this project that I'm working on at the moment, it has already been kind of my strategy moving forwards that I was, and I have, even this week, created pieces that are site-specific, like for certain businesses. Like, for instance, I've just done a piece for a friend's business who's just starting out as a barber. And I have a piece now that I've produced with the word progress printed backwards so it can be seen in the mirror. Because progress is something you can only see in retrospect, and also it can be like a mirror's image or an illusion. And I enjoy having those parameters to play with, and also the fact that it can be, you know, hand to hand, face to face, people engaging with art in places that perhaps they might not normally. So yeah, I'm very open to that.